July 16th, 2018. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Wrestling Inc. podcast. I am Chris Featherstone, hosting in for Glenn Rubenstein tonight. Yes, he's gone. I'm here. You've experienced an upgrade, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Wrestling Inc. podcast. I'm here with Raj Giri. Of course, Matt Morgan will be joining us later in the show. So let's get right into Raw, Raj. What's your overall thoughts?
You know what? I thought the beginning was awesome. I thought that for the opening segment, the first match, I thought was great. Then it was just kind of settling into mediocrity, and then just kind of same old. And then the main event I thought was really strong. So I don't know. The beginning and end was good, but a lot of just nothingness in the middle.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, WWE has the potential to book well. When they really invest in people, I think they really have an opportunity to make it look like a good show. I think, like you said, the opening segment had a really good start to it. And the two triple threat matches were really good. And we'll see how that goes. It was predictable, but predictable isn't always bad. And so that's how I feel about that. So,
yeah, I still probably wouldn't have had Lashley go to the I felt like by having it a triple threat match, you didn't have to have Lashley go against Reigns next week, because I don't think Lashley should be getting beat yet. So that way you could have had Rollins pin Elias. You don't have Lashley get beat. And then you can have Reigns beat, we all know Reigns is winning next week, right? So you could have Reigns beat Rollins next week. And then after Reigns beats Lesnar at SummerSlam, assuming they don't do a Strowman cash in, then you have Lashley waiting in the wings because he's got that big win over Reigns, instead of just giving it back.
Yeah, that makes sense too. I think they're looking at it from an angle of I beat you, you beat me. Now it's, kind of the rubber match type of thing. So I think, both angles make sense, but you want to protect Lashley, and I definitely understand that too. So
yeah, he hasn't been beaten yet since he's been back with WWE. At least he hasn't been pinned. So
yeah, I think they're doing decent with them so far. So let's get right into the opening segment. We saw Kurt Angle cut an in-ring promo about Brock Lesnar's status. He talked about that last night at Extreme Rules. And then what happened was he was about to strip Brock Lesnar, but per his agreement yesterday. But what happened was he got interrupted by Paul Heyman. And, being very Paul Heyman, it's so funny because I think that Vince McMahon, people always talk about how Vince McMahon is so out of touch, but his mission to make Brock Lesnar one of the biggest heels in WWE, it passed with flying colors. I mean, you got a New York crowd that just booed the snot out of him, even booed Paul Heyman. And then, of course, that got interrupted by Drew McIntyre. I mean, the six people who were a part of the match. So Bobby Lashley, then Drew McIntyre, Seth Rollins, Elias, Bobby Lashley, Roman Reigns, set up the two triple threat matches. You said you thought this was a strong start to the show. What were you expecting from this?
I thought it was I thought it was good for what it was. I thought Heyman, kind of gave in pretty easily, but other than that, I like the angle. You set up Brock Lesnar's next match. You got Brock Lesnar a ton of heel heat. Whenever they bring up his name, the fans are chanting "strip the title." So I thought it was strong. I don't like how they always build these matches the same, which is one guy's music hits, then the next guy's music hits, and it's just randomly. You got your six guys in. They do that every week pretty much. I wish they'd mix that up a little bit and find different ways to do it. Yeah. But outside of that, I thought it was a good opening segment, and it looked like they were going to build a one match, like a six-way or something. And so I like that they split it up into two, and it kind of kept you interested in the rest of the show.
I knew that was going to lead to something. I was hoping a series of singles matches. So and that led to a triple threat to the end of the show. I don't think there was, to me, I don't think there's no point of, kind of stretching this another week. So I wish they would have done 3 sets of singles matches and then the triple threat at the very end of the show. And that's a good way to have Bobby Lashley not lose and not get pinned, but he could have lost the match per se. Like, for instance, you could have had, Finn Balor versus Roman Reigns, and so forth. Elias versus Seth Rollins, Bobby Lashley versus Drew McIntyre. The winners of those 3 matches face at the end of the show. And so, to me, I don't think that there's no point. I don't think there's a point of just stretching this out another week.
I think it's good to stretch it out just because you build to something. And so you're building to a match. And I always liked that best back in the day when they'd advertise a match ahead of time because it gets you looking forward to the next week. But I do like the idea of doing 3 triple threat matches instead of 2 3
singles matches. Yeah.
I'm sorry, 3 singles matches, because then you could have had 1 per hour. And then that way it's just one more match that has stakes, whereas the rest of the show didn't.
Exactly, because it would have mattered. Yeah, I understand what you said as far as stretching it to another week, but WWE has failed so much in doing that to me. Because there's nothing, when we used to have the days where everything just kind of was built around the main event of the match, and everything kind of meant something. Now it's just kind of things just kind of inserted in different places throughout a Raw that it just doesn't make sense. But hopefully next week we'll see better. Next we had Roman Reigns. We had the first triple threat match: Roman Reigns, Drew McIntyre, Finn Balor. I think to me it was pretty predictable that Reigns was going to win. It seems like he's going to be the guy again, the number 1 contender. Solid match though. I think it was a really, really good match, and I personally think that I pay attention to the little things when it comes to WWE. I'm very happy that Drew McIntyre didn't take the fall and Finn Balor did instead.
Yeah, and they're definitely protecting Drew right now. Drew also hasn't been pinned since he's been on the main roster, so I think they're keeping with that. That would have been difficult to do if you did the singles matches. You probably would have had to have him get DQ'd or something like that.
Yep.
But I thought this match was awesome. Now I didn't get to. Matt had a commission meeting tonight, so we're seeing if he might not be able to make the show, but I'll keep you posted. So how was the heat for this match? Because I'm on DirecTV now, and they had a big outage. Not DirecTV. DirecTV now is their streaming service. Mm-hmm. And so they had this big outage. It was out for a while, and I had to go sign up for Sling in the meantime. And then, I was watching it on my phone. So I couldn't hear it that well. How was the heat in this match?
The whole Buffalo throughout the whole night was flat in many cases. It was pretty up tempo for this match, but it was kind of like last night's Extreme Rules in Pittsburgh was pretty flat for most of the time. I think if you would have put a different crowd in that match, I think it would have been better, but it was decent. It was the start of the show. I think the crowd was a little hotter, but it was decent.
Yeah. Well, I thought this match was great. I thought it was strong. So that was cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Then we had Dolph Ziggler cut an in-ring promo. He was interrupted by Bobby Roode. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we had a Bobby Roode appearance on Raw. Finally, he hasn't been so glorious over the past few weeks, and he wasn't glorious tonight either because he lost to Dolph Ziggler in a straight up singles match. He tried to go for the Intercontinental Championship match, but Ziggler pulled a heel thing, which was really good. He said, "I didn't say anything about it being for the Intercontinental Championship," which was a good, little heel thing that he did. End up beating Bobby Roode straight up. And where in the world does Bobby Roode go from here, Raj?
Well, they're going with Mojo. I think that was pretty.
They did a backstage segment. Yeah.
So I think that was to build Bobby Roode and Mojo. Man, Bobby Roode has fallen so much. You look at Bobby Roode, Asuka. Yes. It's kind of brutal where they're at right now. But again, gosh, I hate saying this every week, but he could benefit greatly with a heel turn. He needs a refresh, and he's just dying in this role right now.
Yeah, I agree. And I've said this before. I think he should ditch the entire glorious thing if he turns heel, though, because to me, it doesn't make sense for people to chant glorious, and he's just fighting good guys now. What's the difference?
Well, no one's chanting it though.
Well, he's still getting some chance though.
Barely. I mean, when he does the glorious pose, that's about it. Otherwise, they're quiet. His entrance doesn't mean anything anymore. I mean, I feel like they could do what they did with Nakamura. I mean, you could still have the glorious nickname. I don't think you need to drop that, but maybe turn his music a little more heelish and just have him stop doing the stuff that gets a babyface reaction.
Yeah, that's my point. I mean, you don't have to drop him being called glorious,
right,
but he's doing a lot of antics that elicits crowd response, and I don't think that I don't think that a heel should be doing that. Like I think Neville played a heel so well because there were certain things that he would do that would elicit pops that he would just not do. Like he would go up and try to do tease the red arrow, and then the crowd is getting all live about it, and he'll come down from the top rope. Very good heel stuff, and I think that Bobby Roode has the capability to do that.
Yeah, he needs to go back to like his old TNA days when he was just an arrogant, cocky heel that was just a prick, and not this guy doing the chicken dance, getting the glorious chants, and he looks like a chode right now. So. He needs to turn bad. Dolph Ziggler, he looks like a bigger star than he has in a long time. I still feel like Elias could have used the Intercontinental title and be where Ziggler is right now. I feel like it would have benefited Elias a lot more. I think Ziggler, he's just been buried for so long. It's hard to buy him in this role totally. I mean, maybe he can get there, but just not yet. And I think it's been hurting Rollins by having him beaten by Ziggler twice now. I just feel like Rollins has lost a lot of steam over the past month.
Yeah, I agree. Rollins still has that easy way to really get that baby face pops just from his in-ring work. If I would have booked it, I would have had the Bobby Roode Dolph Ziggler feud. I would have had that match at SummerSlam, and I think the Raw after SummerSlam is when you turn Roode heel as IC champ. That's what I would have done as far as just having that, because usually the Raw after Mania, the Raw after SummerSlam, they're bigger Raws, and I think a heel turn would have been pretty good.
I just don't think you have Roode go for the Intercontinental title right now because he's so cold.
True.
He's just so far down the list of importance, important characters on Raw right now that I don't know who you go with Ziggler. I mean, they didn't really tip their hat. I don't know. Maybe they're keeping it going with Rollins because Rollins doesn't necessarily have a program set up for him either. So
yeah, but it seems like they're kind of doing him and McIntyre too, though.
Yeah.
So.
And that makes more sense. But we'll see.
Yeah. It's kind of tough for me since Ziggler's not with. I mean, it seems like they're going away from Ziggler and McIntyre as a duo, and I think McIntyre is what Ziggler needed to really, stand out as a heel.
Right? Like feel like a big deal.
Yeah.
He doesn't feel like as big a deal without McIntyre with him.
Yeah, because it had a Shawn Michaels Diesel kind of feel to it, and I think that now without him, it's just kind of.
I don't think they're dropping it yet. I think tonight they just kind of kept them a little separate, but I don't think that's happening quite yet.
Well, did you catch McIntyre's promo when he came out and he was like, my first mission was to keep the title on to Dolph Ziggler, and my next mission is to go for the Universal Championship. I don't know if that's a soft breakaway, but it seems like it might have been something.
We'll see.
Yeah.
It seems too soon, but we'll see. I think they're still aligned.
Hopefully so.
Was this the match where Coach started talking about he was trying to get his word of the hour out, and Michael Cole and Corey Graves just started talking like a mile a minute, like totally talking over Coach, making sure he didn't get it out. I think this was the match where that happened, or it might have been the next one.
What do you think about that word of the hour?
I can't stand it.
What grade would you give Coach overall right now?
Oh gosh, I think he's the worst.
Chat room two. What grade would you give Coach overall?
All right, guys in the chat, let's see your grades. I think I mean, is F too harsh?
I think so.
Maybe a D. Definitely not better than a D plus. I mean, I think he's just awful. And I used to like him back in the day. I don't know. He just seems too. I don't know. He just seems like he's Mr. ESPN big shot. He doesn't really have to pay attention to the product that much, and he's just there and he's going to talk and he's not going to do any research, and that's that.
Yeah, and he brings basketball references up a lot as if like wrestling fan. I mean, I'm a big basketball fan too, but he'll just throw like a LeBron James reference in as if wrestling fans really care. You know what I mean? Like as if that's going to give him like brownie points as a color guy. You know, like I just don't understand why he would do that. Like I think that's like his, hey, you know, I'm an ESPN guy. I'm gonna bring up a LeBron reference to, you know, get more street cred or something like that.
Yeah. So the letter of the hour someone wrote is F. There's a lot of F's, some D's. I think one person saying coach is great. I think that's Craig. I hope he's kidding. I don't know. But anyway, so there we go.
Oh, wow. So the consensus is D to F, huh?
Yeah. So this was where I thought the show was just starting to, it really slowed down here.
Started to tank for you?
Yeah, with the Ziggler Roode stuff. And it just never, I wouldn't say tanked. It was just back to mediocrity, back to the sameness, back to nothing really happening, no movement until the main event.
Kind of went to default mode. Yeah. Then we got Mojo Rawley and Tyler Breeze. They're building Mojo as a heel more. It seems like they're trying to make him a credible heel. I don't understand what his gimmick is, though. I'm not sold on Mojo Rawley because I don't even know what he is as a heel. What is he, like a mean football player? Or what is his gimmick? Yeah,
I think that there's something missing there, but I think Mojo has a potential. He's got the good. He's got this, you know, good size, good facials, a good intensity, but something with his ring gear and kind of what you said is like motivation. He's just kind of there. Hopefully they can take that in a direction now with this feud with Bobby Roode. I'm not liking Roode's chances in this feud, but you know, I think it's worth trying something with him. He's athletic. He's, you know, a legit athlete, and he's got a good presence to him. He just needs to something missing, but I think he can find it, and I think he'll get there.
I think a character's missing. I don't know what to jeer Mojo about. I don't even know what his, like, for instance, I'm all about characters. I know you are too, as far as just, but it's like, why am I booing you? And I feel this, you know, it's just like,
because he beat up the Rosebuds.
Oh, is that why I should boo you? Like, what is he, like the Rosebud killer now? Is that his gimmick? I don't understand exactly what about Mojo Rawley I should jeer. Like, what is his gimmick? What is he? And I don't, you know, that's what I think that's the intangible that's kind of missing with Mojo. I think he's getting in better shape. I can tell that for sure. And I think that his mannerisms as a heel is building up better, but I definitely think that he needs to be tagged with a gimmick somehow to really help him as a heel, I believe.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, he's like a classic case of someone back in the 80s that you'd put a manager with him to kind of really get him going in that direction. And you know, I feel like there's still a place for managers. You don't have to call them managers. I know Vince McMahon hates that term, but so many guys can benefit from having a mouthpiece.
If you had the chance, if you could bring someone to manage them, who do you think it should be?
Well, that's the thing. They don't really develop managers anymore. And I feel like getting the old guys, it feels like a step back. And I don't like saying Paul Heyman for everything. I remember thinking Paige for a while before she got the GM role. I thought she would have made a cool manager.
It worked with Ellering, though, with ALP.
Ellering worked. And he doesn't feel Paul Ellering didn't feel like he's from another era. You know what I mean? Like if you got JJ Dillon or something like that.
Gotcha. Yeah.
I don't know.
He still looked good. He didn't feel like he was overshadowing their gimmick either. You know, and I think that's what helped with Ellering. He just kind of came out there and they were like his henchmen. and I think that's what helped with AOP. And I think that that's something that they're substantially lacking now. We'll get to that in a bit. But I think with Mojo, if someone like an Ellering was there to just kind of like had like kind of like a Sikkim mentality, and he was like a ferocious, I think that would probably help.
Yeah, I mean, I think like Rockstar Spud, he's a great character, but he's kind of wasted on 205 Live. He's good in his role, but no one watches that show. No one cares about it. Even though I think it's really good. I mean, the wrestling has been fantastic on that show lately. And Leo Rush is another. He's so small. His size is going to hurt him in the long run, even in the cruiserweight division. But he's got so much personality. I think he would make a great manager. So there's people out there.
What do you think if they repackage someone like a Chad Gable?
Yeah, he's too. I think he's just way too athletic and gifted in the ring to do it. He's not. I think he's got too much potential. I'd hate to see that just because I like Chad Gable so much.
But I don't see WWE doing anything.
No, he's out. Him and the Revival were on main event tonight.
Yeah, he usually loses the main event. Hasn't he lost to Mojo before on main event?
Oh yeah. Let's see. What was main event tonight? It was. Let's take a look here. Where is it? Anyway, here we go. It was, gosh, you think about what the Revival and Chad Gable used to do in NXT. Yeah. The Revival and Mike Kanellis, they gave Mike Kanellis a win. Defeated Chad Gable, Rhino, and Heath Slater, and then no way Jose beat Kurt Hawkins. There you go.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you, though. I think Chad Gable has a bunch of potential. I just think I don't see them doing anything with Gable. Just period. I think Vince probably thinks he's too small. He's a heck of a talent, but unless they're have him on 205 or as a singles wrestler on the main roster, I see nowhere with Chad Gable.
This was one of the, most of the trades in the draft or whatever you call it, the superstar shakeup or whatever they call it, has been a net negative for almost everyone. Sheamus and Cesaro are super talented. They're never used, and they're not injured. They've been wrestling live events, but never used. Bobby Roode, we see what's happening with him. I mean, the guys they've moved over, Jinder wasn't even on the show tonight. Yeah. You just see they didn't have real plans. They just kind of threw some names in a hat and they didn't.
Rhino and Slater go over too?
Yep, Rhino and Slater, and they're on main event.
So, yeah, they're not doing much of it.
Zack Ryder, who knows where he is?
He hasn't been used yet.
There's got to be one. Who am I forgetting? I feel like someone has done well since moving over. Samoa Joe they haven't done anything with yet, but I think they will.
Yeah, I think they will too.
Jinder did get a match with Roman, but he's done absolutely nothing since.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I don't know. I can't think of anybody that they've out of the six main event echelon talent that they kind of made tonight through the matches. There was none that came over from SmackDown, was it? Seth didn't.
I mean, Kevin Owens has been up.
Yeah,
but he was also. I don't know if he's higher on Raw than he was on. Actually, I'd say he wasn't.
Yeah, more of a lateral move than if anything.
Yeah.
I don't see anything positive. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, that's a good point. It hasn't really been much benefit on the Raw side from the shakeup. So.
Yeah.
Bayley and Sasha Banks, they were basically given an ultimatum. Speaking of shakeup, they were given an ultimatum that if they don't get along, one of them would have to go to SmackDown Live. Now, I don't understand how that's a punishment, but that they made it a punishment, and they had to go against Alicia Fox and Dana Brooke. I don't know how in the world that they put them two together. Dana Brooke is like forever in limbo. She's a face, she's a heel, she's just there. Alicia Fox, I don't know what they're going to do with her ever. Again, that's worthwhile. But what are your thoughts on this whole angle and this match? And it was like a no contest. It just was all over the place.
I think it's been terrible. I think Sasha deserves so much more. I think Bayley deserves so much better. I think this feud has just made them look weak. The fact that didn't Kurt on this show, somewhere on the show, said we settle our differences in the ring.
in the ring. Yeah,
and then he's sending them to counseling. Like,
yeah.
this thing has been so stupid, and it hasn't been entertaining. It's one thing if they had entertaining segments with the counseling, but they didn't. They had, I mean, last week they didn't even do anything with it. They just showed him like in the office, right?
Yeah,
and I think it was just like a few words. It's just, I feel like it's just been a disaster. They had that angle where Bayley attacked Sasha, and fans finally got into it, and then they just killed it again. They've killed this feud like 3 times.
Yeah.
So it just sucks. It
seems like, what are your thoughts on this? It seems like they pulled Dr. Shelby that one week, and it seemed like it could have been something, but the whole Dr. Shelby thing just fell flat. I wonder if WWE kind of noticed that and just kind of pulled the plug altogether on that.
Could have been. Or maybe Shelby was getting a bigger pop than, Sasha and Bayley, and they're seeing how bad like they're booking Sasha and Bayley. Obviously, I think they're definitely doing a match at SummerSlam, right? Even though tonight it was weird. It almost looked like they were leading to a reconciliation, even though it'll probably be them just turning on each other again. It's happened like 5 times so far.
Yeah.
This thing sucks.
I don't see, unless it's them against each other at SummerSlam, I don't even see where it goes, because they were kind of feuding with the Riot Squad, but Ember Moon's been feuding with the Riot Squad over the past few weeks, and we'll get to that crazy win here in a bit. But it doesn't even seem like there's nothing else for them to do but to go against each other. So I don't see how this will draw out the next few weeks.
Could you imagine if they had Shawn and Marty and did this like 5-month, breakup where they're getting back together and breaking up and have to go to counseling? How much would have that impacted Shawn's career and where he was heading, right?
Yeah. But you got to remember, you have to have Marty tell Shawn, I love you, Shawn.
Right?
You're my best friend.
Right.
And you did everything, and you always hug people there. You always know when I'm feeling bad. I love you, Shawn.
Right. Yeah. Could you imagine? Like, they've just knocked the legs out of both women in this.
Yeah. I think their match will be good at SummerSlam if it builds up to that. I just think that I think build up means so much when it comes to angles, and I think that they're doing a very lousy job making me want to see a match between the two.
Was it 2 years ago they had the Iron Woman match at TakeOver in Brooklyn?
Yeah, I think it was. Or
was it?
Yeah, 3? They had Brooklyn because they had 2. It had like a series, didn't they?
Yeah, but they had the Iron Woman match at TakeOver.
At TakeOver Brooklyn, yeah.
And it was awesome. It was the main event. It was heated. It was a great storyline. And now 2 years later, we're heading to the same city, and we got this.
Yeah. It might have been 15, wasn't it? Because Bayley, last year, she was a part of the she actually defended the championship successfully. And then I think the year before
she wasn't on there. She wrestled, was that Asuka or?
No, it might have been 16. I'll look it up and see. But I know that she defended the championship at Mania in Orlando. It was like the 4-way. So it might have been. But for some reason, I thought she came. No, she came to SummerSlam. She debuted the SummerSlam, the Raw after SummerSlam 2016. That's when it was. Yeah. Because I think she had like a tag team match against Bayley. She had a tag team match with Sasha, like at a pay-per-view, like in the summertime that year. And then she went back to NXT, and I think she debuted officially after SummerSlam in 2016.
Just think about how good that feud was and where it is now.
Yeah. Unfortunately, yeah. So what's next? We got the B team against the Ascension. What's your overall thoughts on the B team? I personally, I think that it brings the title division down a rung or two. But it's fun to see them, though. I watched the post show for Extreme Rules, and just their celebration was just hilarious. I wouldn't put it to the tag team championship level, but it is fun to see them, though.
They're entertaining, but when you put the titles on a campy act, your titles become campy, right?
Yeah.
Like no one takes the Raw tag team title seriously right now.
Yeah.
It needs to be resuscitated bad. Like I said, they're entertaining. But when you're putting the titles on that just shows what you think of those titles. You're not going to put the world title on, Santino Marella.
Yeah. That's true. Yeah.
It's just,
But you will put the tag team titles on Santino and Vladimir Kozlov. Talk about a campy
yeah. I
act.
mean, the tag team titles, the only time they really care about them is when they put two strong singles wrestlers as a tag team.
Right.
It's been a while since you've seen actually, I take that back. The Usos and the New Day did a hell of a job with their feud, but
absolutely they
on
did.
the Raw, it's been a while since you've seen a good feud.
Well, I mean, what strong teams do you have on Raw right now? I mean, you have AOP who keeps beating up others worldwide,
unless you count Drew and Dolph.
Yeah, which it looks like they're not really tag teaming anymore, especially on the babyface side. You have the leaders of worlds, and who else? What other strong babyface team do you have right now?
Someone saying Edge and Christian were campy. I don't consider that. Like, they would do comedy, but they would still turn back to serious. They weren't doing goofy stuff during their matches. They weren't they weren't over the top goofy. And plus, I felt like they didn't become main eventers until after they dropped the strong comedy stuff anyway.
Well, they were doing the flash photography during their tag runs, weren't they?
Yeah. And they weren't main eventers then, right?
Well, I think, what was it, 2000 that they started the whole it wasn't called TLC until 17, right? I think that was the first time they called it TLC when Foley was commissioner.
But I feel like there's a difference between being entertaining in your pre-match promo, like DX or The Rock, and doing, being entertaining, doing some comedy at the beginning, but not being a goofy character all the way through.
Makes sense.
And they weren't that.
I can agree with that. I think that they were serious in the ring. I think they proved themselves in the ring to be top talent. I think the campiness and the flash photography and the crazy hats and glasses and kazoos, that just kind of helped their character, especially at the time where the Angle was kind of aligned with them as well. And it just kind of, he's played the serious counterpart to their, kind of goofiness. So it really helped. Based on the angles and everything that was going on, I think it helped them.
Right.
Yeah. So we had what before that, the Ascension, Raj. What the heck? I mean, when will we ever see anything positive coming from the Ascension?
Yeah.
Are they like glorified jobbers at this point?
Oh, they've been glorified jobbers for years now. That's where the tag division's right now. And even like, I wouldn't go with AOP yet. I feel like you need another tag team in there that could, stand up to them. And there's really no one there right now.
I think the
tag division's a mess. It's almost like you need to combine them. I feel like you could bring Sheamus and Cesaro back and not tell anyone. It's not like they go over the top explaining their storylines anyway.
Right. Yeah. What would be cool, like if they had the superstar shakeup, and then maybe they had like a mid-year random shuffle. Maybe just like a person or two heading toward like the September, October or something like that, just to kind of change it up a little bit. Because right now, I think even if they were a babyface, a tag team, if the Bar just kind of was a babyface tag team and feud against Authors of Pain, I think that'll be much better than what they're doing now.
Well, I'm all for doing like a big draft once a year or whatever.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
But I feel like as part of a brand split, part of the storyline should be the competition between the two brands and trying to steal their other talent and, trades being made. Not all the time. Otherwise it gets to be, it gets overdone, but just here and there where you're making trades and stuff like that. And it keeps, I feel like they're so strict. Like, we did the brand split. We've shuffled the talent. That's it. Mm-hmm. Whereas you don't need to, especially if some talent's not going anywhere.
Yeah, I agree. I think maybe
bring Shelton Benjamin back, and then you got him and Gable, and then you got another, legit tag team back on Raw.
Yeah, but do they become baby faces again because they left SmackDown as heels?
It doesn't matter. if the B team, I guess they're heels, but either way, on either side. Whatever you consider the B team, you'd have Benjamin. Cave will be the opposite. And
to me, I think that kind of hurts their gimmick as a whole, because if they're not a baby face or a heel, like, am I going to cheer? Am I going to boo them? I think the very fact that you can draw heat or draw pops, I think it ups your character substantially. But there's some people they're fighting baby faces, but you got a bunch of B team signs and a bunch of B team shirts. So they're kind of in a conundrum right now.
So maybe go all the way with them. Turn them babyface.
I agree.
Gable and Benjamin be the heels.
Yeah, turn them babyface. I agree.
Or Drew and Dolph.
Listen, I would turn them babyface if they want to beat the Deleters of Worlds in a rematch. Turn them babyface. If they're going to go. I mean, I would feud them against Authors of Pain. Why not? Like it just have them. Just have the fans. I'm sure that they'll cheer for them if they beat Authors of Pain and have a good time. So might as well go all out. I agree. Alexa Bliss. So she cuts the promo. Then you have Ronda Rousey come out, and she's on suspension. Last night she said that's it, and just jumped over the rail with no security, and just beats up Mickie James. Any other person. If they really want to play this out, people should have just rushed to her immediately, but they just let her do it yesterday. They let her do it on Raw. It just didn't make sense.
And it's so stupid. Yeah. Then why didn't she just buy a ticket for the extra week that she's been suspended?
Yeah. So
the stuff,
and then she goes all the way up to the beginning of the ramp. So she's trying to chase them to the beginning of the ramp. So she's at the top of the ramp, and then she just does a stare down. And then when they run, she runs. So I don't know. I just pay attention to the smaller stuff, and to me, it just didn't make sense much.
She gets such a reaction from the crowd. I hate seeing these this weak stories stuff that they're giving her. I just feel like it should be focused, it should be big, and it should feel huge. But they did announce Alexa Bliss versus Ronda Rousey at SummerSlam, but they extended Ronda Rousey's suspension 1 week.
For a week, yeah. Constable Corbin was trying to find his phone, but Angle confiscated his phone. So I guess that was a good way to have Angle, not get clearance from Stephanie. So I don't know, but Alexa Bliss is a really good heel, but I would rather for Rousey, like, it doesn't have a marquee big fight feel to me as far as Rousey versus Alexa. I think Bliss is probably if you want to go with one of the best heels that Raw has, Bliss is the person. But at the same time, Rousey's been billed as this MMA star, first woman to make the UFC Hall of Fame. She has such a marquee feel to her, and I think it lowers her a bit when saying that she's going to feud with Alexa Bliss at SummerSlam.
Yeah, and it just makes it's just not credible, right? Like, I think when you did Asuka, if you were going to do Asuka, and we talked on the podcast last night about how much they destroyed Asuka, but there's good credibility there. Asuka was undefeated. If you had kept that going, there's a credibility there that you believe it, that you can buy into it. With Charlotte Flair, you have that because of Charlotte's athletic background. She's bigger than Ronda. Same as Nia Jax. She's bigger than Ronda. Those are the matches that you should have gotten to. And you can have had, Ronda beat Mickie James, get experience in the ring, get up to that level. But challenging Alexa Bliss for the title, it just does nothing.
Yeah, I agree. I would have wished that if they would have done the Nia Jax thing, I would have wished that Stephanie McMahon would have came in and had Nia kind of like a bodyguard type of feel for her, just kind of like a protector type of feel, and then they could have drew more heat on Nia, because Nia has a presence to her that seems like if anybody would make Ronda Rousey an underdog, it would be Nia Jax. But no one else.
And it should have been a long build to get to there.
Absolutely.
Just randomly throwing her into title matches. This is her second title match, and, and those are her two singles matches.
Her only two singles matches are title
on
matches.
TV, at least.
Yeah. You think she wins it at SummerSlam?
I think so. Otherwise, you start putting that not a loser vibe, but that she can't get it done, and I don't think you want that early.
Yeah. So I think we saw that with Asuka. I think that losing. I think WrestleMania just killed her momentum. If I could pinpoint one place to kill her momentum, it was WrestleMania. I mean, Charlotte. If anybody should have broke the streak, Charlotte should have been the person. Sure, but it just her momentum just tanked after that.
If you had plans for them, but they both got. Charlotte got beat by Carmella, who's not
Right.
who doesn't have that credibility. So it just hurt everyone involved. I mean, it's helped Carmella, but is that who you got? The world's biggest, your biggest star in the company, Ronda Rousey. That's who you're wanting to build is Alexa Bliss and Carmella, and not the natural big matches. So anyway,
yeah.
They do what they do.
We'll see. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens with that. Authors of Pain versus Titus Worldwide. Another just total squash. It seems like they're just making ALP just credible heels at this point.
Real quick, with the B Team versus the Ascension, they announced that next week they're going to do the Raw Tag Team rematch with Matt Hardy and Bray Wyatt versus the B Team.
There was a on-screen promo that Bray Wyatt and Matt Hardy did,
and they were teasing. Matt Hardy teased on Twitter, and he was giving Bray some weird looks. So I think they're teasing that they might break up. So hopefully next week, that's it. I don't know. I'm done with this team, but
I hope not. Bray Wyatt as a heel just fell flat to me real early, and
turn Matt heel and keep Bray babyface.
I don't think Matt is strong enough to be a heel right now, though.
Yeah, or just have them to go their separate directions.
Yeah, go their separate
I feel like they're not doing anything. Yeah, I don't think they should turn Bray heel either. Yeah.
All right, we got so ALP Titus Worldwide. Where does this go? It seems like they're just leading. They're building the momentum of ALP as credible heels.
Yeah,
but it doesn't seem like it's really leading to anywhere right now because there's not really any other strong babyface team right now.
Yeah, they're just kind of in purgatory. They're just doing squash matches. It was interesting how quiet the crowd was in this match. Like nothing. Corey Graves even said the crowd was in shocked silence, and it's a good way to try to cover it up. But man, they did not care one bit.
But what is there to care about though? I mean, like there's nothing that ALP is doing that's really building momentum as heels. Titus Worldwide has been a joke ever since really they came together. So there's nothing to cheer about at this point, So Sarah Logan and Ember Moon. So they were talking about Sarah Logan getting her first win, and Ember Moon's been feuding against the Riot Squad recently, but why in the world do you give Ember Moon a loss? He's been building up so much momentum, and you give her a loss to Sarah Logan at this point.
Yeah, I believe that's Ember Moon's first pinfall loss, right?
Yeah,
on the main roster.
Yep.
It seemed like a weird thing to do, but the only thing I could think of is they have nothing else for him, so it's Riot Squad versus Ember Moon for another few weeks, and Ember Moon's won every time, so they needed to have her take a loss. I don't know.
Yeah. What's the timeline on Ruby Riot?
I think soon. It wasn't that bad, so I think it's like a few more weeks. So yeah, it's not that long, but yeah, I think probably felt like Ember needed to take a loss here, get some wins again, and then by the time Ruby Riot comes back, that's what it leads to is Ember and Ruby.
Yeah, but I don't think she should have lost here, though.
I agree. I wouldn't have done
it. Yeah, I would have had her beat Liv, and just kind of build that momentum to set up for Ruby to come and attack her, 1 week, and then that can lead into the match.
You can keep them off TV 1 week if you don't have an idea,
Yeah, absolutely.
But the crowd was dead in that match too. I felt like the crowd was dead for this stretch of the show.
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. They started off hot, but it was kind of like Pittsburgh last night. At Extreme Rules, just kind of started off hot and just went kind of flat, throughout the rest of the show. So the main event was good. It was Roman Reigns or Bobby Lashley this time. Roman Reigns in the start, beating Elias and Seth Rollins. So they're building kind of like the two spears. It looks like Lashley's returned and having his spear as a finisher again. And so they're building up them two. It was predictable to me, but I enjoyed their match at Extreme Rules, and I think it'll be a good match on Raw. But it just seemed like it was way too predictable as far as just who the two is going to be.
Yeah, and I think again, I feel like they're hurting Seth a bit. Like Seth, they've really kind of cooled him off the last month and a half, or the last month. They've done the same with Braun. I feel like they've cooled Braun off a lot over the last couple of months, even though he won Money in the Bank. But he's not near as crazy over as he was a while ago. I don't know. I feel like they don't listen to the crowd as often, and they're cooling their own stars for whatever reason. And I feel like they're doing that with Seth. But other than that, I thought this was a good match. You know, like I said, I probably wouldn't have Roman beat Lashley yet. I'd probably save that for later. And then you could have Roman versus Seth. I think that makes it a little more unpredictable because in the back of your head, you could think that maybe they will go with Seth. Whereas I think this with Roman and Lashley next week, we all think that Roman's winning, right?
Yeah. I think if Lashley wins again, man, I think he is the top babyface of the whole WWE. I mean, that's kind of how they started. I mean, the Buffalo was chanting Lashley like crazy. You were getting Bobby chants at the beginning of the show. They were kind of booing him because Seth is so over in the main event. But I think him beating Reigns really helped him as far as being a babyface.
No, my booking idea was for him to not just beat Reigns, but destroy Reigns last night, and then have him destroy Lesnar at SummerSlam and dominate. Not like the Goldberg 30-second one, but like a 7-8 minute just one-sided match where he just beats the hell out of Lesnar. And then you got a superstar made, you know, and you transfer that badass aura you had on Lesnar to Lashley. So I think
he's a heel.
No, you don't have to have him be a heel. You could, or you could have him be a tweener like Lesnar was. Lesnar was never necessarily a babyface or a heel, right? Like he was facing Braun, then Joe, and then Reigns, you know. So he kind of ping pong between baby faces and heels. But
yeah, but that was.
But I don't think.
I think it was an anomaly, though. I think it was an anomaly because Lesnar was like an attraction. You know what I mean?
Right.
We're going to see Lesnar. We're going to see Lashley every week. So I think making him a clear-cut babyface or heel would work. You could do that with Lesnar because he was there once every 3 or 4 months. So, you know.
But Lashley beating the hell out of Lesnar would be a huge babyface thing, right? Because everyone's so. Yeah. And so you try him out as a babyface. If it's not working, then you turn him heel. But I think Lashley versus Lesnar is more interesting to me than Reigns versus Lesnar again. But they've beaten Reigns so many times by Lesnar. I know they desperately want Reigns to finally beat him.
I'm cool. You know, I love Roman Reigns. I'm a Roman Reigns apologist. I don't understand the flack that he gets, but I, you know, listen, if it was my choice, I would have Lashley versus Lesnar, just because we've never seen that match. And I think if we're going to have one more match with Brock Lesnar, I'd prefer for it to be Bobby Lashley. So, and don't do a triple threat either. Just do a singles match. I mean, that could be an option next week too. They could just kind of beat each other up, and they can make it like a triple threat. I don't want to see a triple threat match. I'd rather see a singles match if this is Lesnar's last match.
Yeah. No, I think, I like the idea of Lashley winning it.
Yep,
I think you get a new superstar. I like the idea of Reigns being pissed at Lashley winning it, turning heel, attacking Lashley afterwards. I know, you know, we've been talking about Reigns turning heel forever. I know they're not going to do it, but if Reigns was upset with Lashley kind of taking his spot and, you know, getting the win over Lesnar that he's always wanted, it's justified, right? Like he's been wanting that win over Lesnar so bad. Lashley comes in, gets it. Reigns just, you know, lashes out, for lack of a better term, at Lashley, and you got a hot feud.
I said this on my show. I think that I would have rather. I would like to see Heyman with Reigns. I mean, people say that Reigns' mic work is the weakest point of his arsenal, and I think that Heyman's he's a self-proven amazing promo guy. Yeah. So if you have Reigns and Lesnar, like if you do Reigns, I think they can still do it. If you have Reigns versus Lesnar, if it's Lesnar's last match, you can have Reigns just win and just like beat the crap out of Lesnar. And then you say, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Paul Heyman, and I'd like to introduce to you the reigning, defending Universal Champion Roman Reigns, and then the crowd would just boo the crap out of him. That'll be a hot feud going into the Raw after SummerSlam, and it'll draw people wanting to see the Raw more.
I think it would make the product so much more interesting if you did that right now. I think everything feels so stale right now. Yeah. And I feel like that would just give a jolt. And there's no reason not to do it, right?
I agree. Yeah.
I mean, because Reigns sells a lot of merch at live events. Well, how much of your business right now is merch? You're going to be making $500 million a year on TV deals. That should be your focus, is making the product interesting.
Yes.
And then the merch will come down the road. But if that's not your core thing, or selling live event tickets is no longer your big thing. It's the network and the TV make the product hot.
Absolutely.
I think the TV, for that reason.
Yeah, I think the TV should be the number one focus. I mean, based on what we see with Fox and USA renewing their deals, TV should be the first focus. And if they do that at SummerSlam, you'll have so many people wanting to see what happens at the Raw after SummerSlam, and so I think it'll be a good deal.
Speaking of which, well, we'll wrap this up, and then we'll get to Brock appearing on the Raw after SummerSlam.
Oh yeah. So Bobby Lashley won. He basically speared Elias, was it, to catch the win at the end? And so it'll be next week. It'll be Roman Reigns versus Bobby Lashley for the #1 contendership, and so that was basically the conclusion of Raw.
Yeah.
All right,
Braun did tease cashing in on whoever's champs earlier in the show. Some people are bringing up Braun. Yeah.
All right, let's get into some news bits, Raj.
All right, so they announced Brock's going to be on the post SummerSlam episode of Raw. Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people assume that SummerSlam would be the last time we see Lesnar in WWE, at least for a while, at least until he fights Cormier and maybe John Jones. We'll see, but. He's appearing on the Raw the next night, so I know there's already some people who are wondering if that means that Lesnar's doing more dates, if he's going to do another match after SummerSlam. I could see them doing a quitting angle like with Batista. Remember when Batista?
It was amazing.
His last appearance. And,
was it
twice
against? Was it John Cena he lost to?
There was that, and then with Evolution, he did quitting.
That's when he was Blue Tista at that point. Yeah.
So you have Lesnar, have Paul Heyman do the quitting for him. I don't know, unless Heyman. I don't know, but yeah, Lesnar will be on the Raw the night after SummerSlam. So
I think a perfect way to do that is to have. I mean, since Reigns beat up and tore up Lesnar at SummerSlam, he comes up trying to get some retribution, and Heyman comes out with Reigns now, and he comes out, gives him a series of chair shots, beat the snot out of him, rides to the sunset,
and that writes him off.
Yep. I think that's the way to do it.
I like that.
What else we got?
The other thing, WarGames is returning this year, Survivor Series weekend, so they're bringing it back for NXT Takeover. I thought the match last year was awesome, so they're bringing it back. So
3 teams of 3 again.
I believe so.
With
they haven't gotten that far, and I don't think. I'm assuming that's what it'll be, but they can do whatever they want. Ronda Rousey is announced for the event in Shanghai, China, on Saturday, September 1st at the Mercedes-Benz Arena. So that's her China live event debut. And
do you think that G1 Supercar will outdraw Takeover next year?
What does the Barclays hold?
16, I think, around there. 16, 17.
So and MSG is what, 15?
15, yeah.
So I think Takeover is going to be sold out, but they have the bigger stage and everything, whereas because the MSG could be up to 20. I don't know. I could see them outdrawing them.
What does the chat room think? Outdrawing will G1 Supercard outdraw NXT before we wrap up?
Yeah, see what you guys think. They're the same night, 6 miles from each other. I mean, ROH New Japan, they're piggybacking off of WrestleMania weekend. Smart. It's a very smart move. The timing's perfect. They're in New York, and yeah, it's a smart move. Maybe, maybe it's a smart move. If you're running an event, it's a smart move. But raising the ire of WWE when they got all this cash coming in, you got some of the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega's contracts coming up, Marty Scurll. Yeah, it'll be, it's interesting. It's poking poking us. What is it? It's poking a sleeping bear or sleeping lion.
Yep. I think they were inspired by All In, because there's been a bunch of times I was at I went to NXT this year, and I went to WrestleMania weekend, and last year I went to ROH. I think they had the highest crowd when I went. That was the ladder match between the Hardys and the Young Bucks.
Yeah,
and they could have easily drew way more than what they did. And so I think they've undersold themselves quite a bit, though. ROH has.
Yeah, but ROH, the biggest crowd they've done is what, 6,000. So you're talking about almost 3 times that much. Again, you're going to have tons of people in from Mania, tons of wrestling fans in the area. Some people are picking that both will sell out, but a bigger crowd for NXT. Yeah, it'll be interesting.
Looks like it's 50-50. Looks like it's split. Yeah. Should be a pretty good weekend. Are you planning on going to WrestleMania weekend festivities next year?
I think I'll probably do what I usually do, and that's go till about Saturday or Friday, and then come back and check out some of the events. But it's too crazy here on the site, so I got to be back for that.
I'll be there live again. Lord willing, I should be there live again at WrestleMania. I usually go from Thursday to Monday morning, so I usually do coverage there. So it should be pretty fun. It's so funny because I was on the fence till probably like 2 weeks in, and I chose NXT. So I don't know. I might do that again. I might be on the fence till like 2 weeks out, and it that I'll make the decision. So
yeah.
But it's time to wrap it up. I think we've covered everything that we needed to cover, and anything else we have left or plug the site. Anything coming up, Raj?
Tons of interviews, more from my interview with Tessa Blanchard. We got stuff from our interview with Teddy Long from last week. So just tons of stuff. It's a really busy week on the site, so just keep checking it out. What about you? Pancakes at Power Slams tomorrow night?
Yes, Pancakes and Power Slams. It's been so fun here on the Wrestling at YouTube channel. We had tons of interaction every week. We have a wrestling interview every week. Subscribe through iTunes too. Check out my archive interviews. I've interviewed over 100 wrestlers recently. Booker T, Bill Goldberg, Nick Aldis talking about All In. So lots of heavy stuff. Tomorrow I've got my boy Chris Pavone, used to be called Kalen Croft. We're going to talk about how Matt Cappotelli influenced him as a wrestler. And then we got former announcer Ken Resnick coming up. And so I'm really excited to talk with him too. I love those old school interviews. So it'll be cool. So tomorrow night, stay close to the Wrestling at YouTube, and we're going to have some fun tonight. We're going to have some fun tomorrow night. So for all the people who have been with us tonight, everybody who's going to listen to it after, go to Wrestling at YouTube, go to wrestling.com. Until next week, Raj, on behalf of Raj Giri, I'm Chris Featherstone. Have a good night. So long.